This week on the Retirement Quick Tips podcast, I'm talking about living the American dream. According to a 2024 report from Investopedia, the American dream now costs $4.4 million over your lifetime. Absolutely staggering. But today we're discussing pets and kids. So, what does it cost to raise pets and kids? Well, this is interesting. I was actually a little bit surprised by this, but the average lifetime cost for owning a pet, either a dog or a cat, is about $36,000. So, that includes annual and one-time pet care costs. And it doesn't go into that much detail about what that costs other than to say it's the total expense of owning one dog, one cat, including one-time and annual costs. So I'm assuming that's including purchase of the dog or cat, food, healthcare, vet bills, that kind of stuff. One of the things that's interesting, it's been a very long time since I've purchased an animal. My husband got a dog, his first child, back in 2003. He bought a purebred, gorgeous miniature dachshund. I don't remember what he paid, but back then, I mean, this was over 20 years ago, it was a few $100s for a gorgeous, the dog should have been a model. Several years later, I want to say 2009, 2010, we got a rescue dachshund and they practically paid us to take her. So I think we paid a couple $100 just to cover her initial vet bills and things like that in the adoption process. So my idea of what it costs to own an animal, to purchase an animal, is wildly outdated because I just Googled it. The cost, if we were to buy a purebred dachshund like we bought 20 plus years ago, it can range up to $3,500 just for the initial purchase. And I do have a lot of experience with high vet bills, and obviously food can be expensive. I've had clients before who their dogs ate better than they did. I live in Oregon too, so people treat their pets out in the Pacific Northwest. Pets are basically humans out here. And so I see a lot of things that I wouldn't do for my animals, but they're eating like organic chicken that they're cooking and making themselves. They're not eating the kibble, certainly. And that adds up to a lot of money, especially over the typical lifespan of a dog or a cat, which is generally anywhere from, 10 to 13 years. So pets are very, very expensive. And also most Americans, 2/3 of Americans own a dog. And about 1/3 of Americans have more than one animal as well. So I hate to tell you this, but if you're looking to save money, it's kind of a nice thing. I'm not saying go out back and shoot your dog, but like if your dog dies, like our dog died in February and I put my foot down. I told my husband that we're not getting another animal for a very long time, maybe never. I can't deal with 4 kids. Taking the dog out, especially a geriatric incontinent dog, that lasted for several years. That was frustrating. Plus, when you go on vacation, you have to find somebody to take care of it. You have to take it out all the time. You have to, if you want to be a good pet owner, you got to take care of the animal. So I just don't have it in me to do that anytime soon. Hopefully not in the next couple of decades. We'll see after that. I might come around eventually, but it is very expensive to own a dog. And when people are looking to trim back on costs, especially in their budget as they get closer to retirement, especially if you want to travel more, you're going to be away from home a bit more, you may considering, especially if you have an elderly animal, that when that dog or cat passes away, that maybe you take a pause and don't get a new animal and see what the impact is on your budget, because it is a huge, huge annual expense. All right, moving on to kids. Oh my gosh, if animals are expensive, they don't hold a candle to having children. Okay, so raising 2 children, according to Investopedia, costs $832,000. This is from the time that they're born, and assuming that you're going to also foot the bill for public in-state 4-year college. So most of the cost, about $600,000 for raising those 2 kids, is just all the expenses that come from their diapers and formula and shoes and clothes for school, paying for sports. You know the drill. Kids are expensive. We got mouths to feed. I have 4 children, so that means my cost of raising 4 children is the exact cost of retirement, $1.6 million. So if you break it down, it's a little over 400,000, about $416,000 per child if you are planning to fund them all the way through school. Now, what's interesting about this is that if I read between the lines or I read the fine print, how they're adding these figures up, a public in-state four-year college, I think it assumes that you are paying for tuition, room and board, and all of that, but it doesn't include the added expenses that come for a lot of parents into the early adulthood years. You might be paying for their car insurance. You might be paying for their cell phone bill. They might still be on your health insurance. I actually think that this figure is a little bit low, but that's just depressing. Yeah. And I think that's a big reason why you hear a lot of people today saying that they are choosing not to have children. In fact, affordability of having a child is 36% of people who say they don't want to have kids. So about a third of people who say, I don't want kids, said that the primary reason was as that they didn't think they could afford to raise a child. I have opinions about that, but I have 4 children and they're amazing, and having kids is amazing and it's worth it. And you figure out a way to afford them and it's definitely worth it. But yes, it does come with some sacrifices and sometimes financial hardships as well, but worth it in the end. My personal biased opinion. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Ashley Michike, and this is the Retirement Quick Tips Podcast.